Welcome to this week's episode of Forgiving the Girl Inside, a Matter of the Heart. I'm your hostess, Lisa Drennon, energetic mindset mentor and business strategist. And I did not slur my words today, which is good because if you've listened to other episodes, you know I stutter sometimes, which is perfectly fine because I'm perfectly human and it's okay. You are going to be listening to an incredible episode with Amanda Acker, who has an amazing past. I told her she has to be a guest here multiple times because she has so many different stories on her healing journey that has brought her to this beautiful place where she is at today. But she is coming from a past of drug abuse, homelessness, and being a convicted felon. She has broken through and was able to let the good things in her life just shine through on this mission to inspire and motivate people who are just like you. And I know a lot of us have different experiences, different traumas. You know, as a child, I was molested. By the time I was 17, I was pregnant 3 times, had 2 abortions, was with somebody that was narcissist, gaslighter, totally mind control by him, my mom, and I didn't even know any better. Like, we're just growing and learning so much at that age. And you know, what you don't know, you don't know. And as you grow and you realize your body, you don't process these things and your body absorbs it and it comes out as physical ailments, headaches, jaw aches, depression. Maybe you're hiding yourself in the bedroom, whatever modality. Maybe you're turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms. You know, Amanda turned to drugs. I turned to wine, alcohol, overeating, overspending. We all have different forms of unhealthy coping mechanisms, but we're here to share with you today. You're not alone, and there is a way out. There is a way out of that pit. There is a way out, and it all begins with you wanting to begin the healing journey. So if you know anyone who would benefit from these interviews, please share across social media, invite your friends, your family, whoever this may resonate, and let them listen to this. If you're watching it on YouTube, same thing, share, check the description for any links so you can connect with Amanda or myself. And Amanda, thank you so much for your willingness to share your story with my audience. We're just going to kind of be led by whatever leads you. I know you have so many different facets of your healing journey, and you've had this incredible past. And before the show began, you were experiencing some emotional pain with the adoption of your daughters and all of that. So just wherever you're led to share, let's just go with that. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like what were you like before you realized you were in this dark moment or moments?
Yeah, first, Lisa, I just want to say thank you so much for having me here. Prior to who I am now, for lack of a better word, I was a train wreck. I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know who I was. I was at age 15, my parents divorced, and I was super close with my mom, and she decided to leave. So when I came home from high school, my mother, my best friend, just wasn't there anymore. So that really set it into my mind that I must not be good enough. I don't deserve to be loved. And that is what made me change into this person where I was just constantly looking for love. And the first person I went to was obviously my father. And back then, like at first, like everything was fine. And he wanted to be there for me and be a good father. And then he started dating, and I started becoming a rebellious teenager, and he ultimately left me. I remember coming home from college that I failed out of to my childhood home that was for sale, and waking up to people walking through my house, looking at it to buy it, not to my knowledge. So I was abandoned and just really left to fend for myself, and I didn't know why. So, being that young and not knowing the world outside of, my home, I made a lot of bad choices, and it was all because I needed that love and acceptance so desperately. I remember way back then at age 19, I wound up pregnant. And I'm going to share this story. This is the first time sharing this on a different podcast, but it's on my heart really, really heavy today, like you mentioned. And at age 19, I was in this relationship with this man who was slightly older than me, probably like 10 years older than me. And I moved in with him because, like I said, my house was being sold out from underneath of me. And I wound up pregnant. And I remember thinking, okay, like I'm going to end this pregnancy. I'm going to have an abortion. And this never happened. This will just be like some story I'll tell later in life. But I couldn't go through with it for whatever reason at the time. Emotionally, I just couldn't do it. So I decided to keep her, and we were gonna move into where we already lived together. We were gonna get married
Mhm.
and live this life or whatever. And well, that didn't happen. He turned out to be a nightmare. I remember we went out to eat one time and I got very sick, and I'm pregnant and sick to the point where I was not able to lay down or stay on the toilet, or it was gross. I'll spare you all the details. Um, but I can remember him slamming me. Like I was sitting on the toilet. I'm pregnant and young, not knowing why I'm in so much pain and so sick. And he just kept slamming me, like sitting me up and screaming at me and saying, "Sit up. Like you can't do that. Like you have to sit up," and just like being very nasty to me. Never took me to the hospital. I thought I was going to die, like something was really wrong. And come to find out, I had mercury poisoning because I ate shrimp. And I guess when you're pregnant, like I didn't know. I guess you weren't supposed to eat shrimp. I don't know. But I got very sick. And in that moment, I realized I can't stay with this person. I also found
Yeah.
out that people in his family, he was molested by his sister, who was molested by, I think it was their father. And I was like, I can't have this child and bring her into this world where she could possibly get abused. And I'm super young. I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my life. So I made the decision to leave him and place her for adoption. And it was really, really hard. I remember, like, just feeling like I was making the wrong choice. I was kept going back and forth and all this stuff, but I did give her up for adoption. And in the moment of doing that and handing her to these people who I got to choose, it wasn't, like, I just gave her and she went to whoever I chose who she went with. And that solidified in my brain, instead of thinking, okay, I made this right choice. I did what was right for her. I couldn't, oh, I just bumped my microphone. I couldn't emotionally handle it. That really just like set me down this spiraling path. I was homeless at the time. So like I didn't have like home to go to. So I ended up in a very highly abusive relationship, sexually, mentally, emotionally, all these things. And I was just trying really hard to feel okay. And I eventually broke free from him, but I was still lost. And I remember my friend at the time, we went to a strip club because my sister was stripping. She was in town and stripping. And I was like, "Oh, let's go to the strip club. This sounds like such a great idea." So we go there and I meet this older man, and I'm talking significantly older, old enough to be my father. And I remember sitting at the bar with him, and he's telling me, "Oh, I can get you a job. And, with me and my company, I need an assistant." And I thought, well, shit, this is like the perfect opportunity for me. And I had a young son at the time. And I was like, this will be great. And so I meet up with him afterwards, and I find out that's not the truth. He wanted to pay me to go out on dates with him, but he said there'd be no sex. So I agreed. And I
Mm.
went and met with him again. And when I did that, I remember we were at his apartment, and I wanted to leave. I would not let him pick me up from my home. For some reason, I was smart enough to not let him come to my home, but I wasn't smart enough to not go. But I remember him saying, "Well, Amanda, come back here. I'm laying down. Will you lay down with me?" And I remember thinking, like, I don't want to lay down with this person, but I didn't know what else to do. So I laid down with him, and my phone kept buzzing. I had a boyfriend, and he was texting me, like, "Where are you? I thought we were supposed to go out." And I was trying to like respond to him to like keep him at bay so that I could handle what was in front of me without telling him what was actually happening. And this man told me that if my phone went off one more time, he was going to kill me.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember being so scared and just like I didn't know what to do. I think I threw my phone away so that if it did go off, he wouldn't know. And he was trying to get me to have sex with him, and I really didn't want to. And he was like, "Oh, I don't understand," and like this whole thing. And there was no actual intercourse, but he did coerce me into doing other things. And finally, I don't know how I got him to take me back. And I remember feeling so disgusting and embarrassed, ashamed, like all these things about myself in that moment, like really, really down and lost any self worth I could have possibly had in that moment. I didn't really tell anyone, but ended up telling my friend. And this was like months later. There was a gap of time, but she said that we we should rob this guy. And at the time, we were broke, we were strung out on cocaine, and I didn't know what to do. So I agreed. And I didn't want to lose her, right? Because that was my problem. I couldn't handle losing people because I was holding on to dear life to whoever would accept me. And so we involved other people, and that whole story is pretty involved. So I won't go into all the details, but the robbery happened. I did not want to do it. So I remember being in his apartment, and me and her were supposed to like get him in the bathroom or something. It was so stupid looking back. It was the dumbest idea. Um, but I was supposed to get this guy in the bathroom, and I couldn't do it. So I remember I didn't have my cell phone on me. So I grabbed her phone out of her hand because she was like texting with the people who were going to come in and rob this guy. And I said, I need to check on my son. And I ran out and I told the guys, if you're going to do it, just go do it. Like those are probably my exact words. And I ran out to my car and I'm laying in the back seat, just crying my eyes out, scared to death. Like I don't know what to do. And eventually, they all come running out, and we didn't even make it out of that parking lot. We were pulled over. I was pulled over at gunpoint. So it's not just like the cops like put their sirens on. There was guns drawn. There was numerous cops. It was on this busy, busy street. So cars are flying past. People are watching from the other side of the highway. And I'm told to get out of my car with my hands up, and then I'm face down on the pavement with being handcuffed. And it was horrifying. And I did go to jail. I was in there for long, about a year, but in between getting arrested and going to jail, I was on bail. And a lot of craziness happened and that within that period of time as well. But getting out of jail, I thought that I was going to be okay. Truly thought, oh, Amanda's been through this now, so she's going to grow up. But I didn't. I kept going down that spiral. I kept just not taking the time to pause to figure out what I actually wanted. I kept looking outside for love and acceptance, ended up in an extremely toxic relationship for about 7 years with a narcissist. And I finally left him. And when I left him, he couldn't let go. So it was a constant battle, even though I wasn't with him anymore. Like I was dating someone else who eventually became my husband. And I almost ruined our marriage because I couldn't handle all the pressure. And then I made new friends and they were telling me my husband didn't love me. And I believed everyone but my husband and what my heart was telling me. I just couldn't listen because I thought if I could stay friends with these people or if I could keep him, my ex happy, like it'll be okay. But it turned out that I ended up one moment, this is my wake up call. I'm sitting in our closet of our apartment and I'm crying my eyes out by myself and I was going to kill myself. I was going to end it. I was like, I can't function anymore. I can't keep living this way. I can't keep crying all the time. And I don't know the exact thought I had that broke me out of wanting to end my life, but it was something around the fact that I didn't want to leave the kids that I had, and I didn't want to hurt my husband even more so than I already had by my lies and all the things I was doing. So I didn't, and I reached out for help. I didn't have health insurance back then. So if you're listening and you're from the US, it's very expensive here to get help when you don't have health insurance. So I reached
Yeah.
out, I reached out to my husband and I told him what I was feeling. I apologized and I asked him, I told him, I just need help. I don't know like what's going on with me. And we talked things out and it helped me a lot. And I started to think about what my values were and what I stood for. And the first value that came to mind is I believe in second chances. And I never
Mm.
gave myself a second chance. I just kept sabotaging myself. And that was my wake up call. That was the turning point. And that was only 2 years ago. So I have been living in my self sabotaging ways for pretty much since I was 15 years old, and I'm 37, so it was a long road to my wake up call, but I'm so grateful for it. And now my life is nothing like that. And when I tell these stories, it's almost like I'm telling somebody else's life story.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great, the sense of abandonment and then turning to people pleasing, to reach out and, you know, it's just devastating because you don't understand, like you're emotionally growing at that age. I mean, your mom leaves you, then your dad basically leaves you, and it's just you keep going after all these different relationships and this love, this, and you end up, it's very common to end up with people with narcissist behaviors, controlling behaviors, because you don't care, because you want so badly to fill that void in your heart and to be able to get to that point, of wanting to, um, know that there's a better way, and I'm so thankful that you did not choose to um, commit suicide. That is so, they don't talk about it much during the past 18 months, how it's raised. People felt so alone. I had a dear friend of mine, her sister, had committed suicide, and the family had no idea that
Wow.
she was even in that. And because we were told not to go visit, now, stay away from everybody because of, the pandemic. And it's such a wrong message, especially, you know, when people are hurting, you need to reach out, you need to be with them. Have you forgiven yourself for all the things that you've done?
Most of the things. The hardest thing to forgive myself for is the adoptions. And it's one of those things where I know I made the right choice, but my oldest, she's about to be 18. And when I think about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I let her down. Like what if I would have kept her? And I go through these like spirals of going down there. And that's, I know I'm going to try not to get emotional, but it's really a hard thing for me to deal with. And knowing that I have two kids and they're the best, I love my children, but I feel like sometimes I feel like I should have kept them. I should have like powered through and figured it out and, did all the things that there are women out there who keep their children in bad situations and they do make it out and their kids, turn out great. And I just feel like maybe I was weak, but at the end of the day, like I said before, like I know I did the right thing for my children. I know I did, regardless of what my brain sometimes likes to to tell me. I know that that was the right choice, and I am working towards forgiving myself, just like I did for all the other bad choices that I've made throughout my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a relationship with your children?
I don't. I actually haven't made any contact with them since I had my youngest. That's something I don't know. It's not like I forget, but I tend to leave out. I was pregnant when I was in jail. And I had my second daughter while I was incarcerated and I gave her to the same family. So they're together, they're actual sisters. And it was like I couldn't. It was like there's something like I didn't know what to say to them. Like, do I say I'm sorry? Do I say I love you? Do I just, I never knew how to write to them. I have a semi-closed adoption, so I'm not like allowed to like contact them or like reach out by myself. I have to go through our agency. And that's who I called today actually to get pictures of them. I haven't seen what they look like in an extremely long time. And yeah, that's where that is right now. So I'm really hoping to hear back. She said I'll hear back this afternoon. So I really hope I get some sort of good news, and I just want to know that they're okay, which I'm sure they are. But as a mom, even though they're not in my custody, I worry all the time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you never know. You might reunite with them, and be able to tell them these things, face to face, and that's awesome that they are together. Um, and then your son, is he in the was he adopted as well?
No, my son's with me. He's 15 now, and I have a daughter as well who she just turned 8.
Okay, beautiful. So yeah, to reunite them, as siblings, and if you can reach out through them through the agency, that's a beautiful, beautiful way to connect and just share your heart with them. And, so you can, one of the healing journeys in my book, Forgiving the Girl Inside, Finding Balance, Freedom, and Fun in Your Life, is about forgiving yourself for choices that you made. And when it comes to children, like I had 2 abortions by the time I was 17, and I did not forgive myself for that. And I went through this whole healing journey when in 2013 I started with gratitude, and it's all in my book. But I didn't forgive myself. In January of 2019, I thought I forgave myself. I said I forgave myself, but truly deep down in my heart, I didn't, because I would reflect on what would it have been like. And um, in May of 21, I sought out a soul coach who walked me through this process, and I was able to truly forgive myself. And it was the most beautiful release. And I had the most beautiful image of my 2 babies, Michael and Tamara, coming to me. I was on an acupuncture table, and they both came to me and kissed me on the cheek and said, "Mommy, we love you. We forgive you. God forgives you. Please forgive yourself so you can go do God's work and share with the world your purpose." And I was crying on the table, and the acupuncturist walked in. She's, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "You're not going to believe what just happened." And it was Mother's Day weekend. So it
Oh
was a
my
beautiful,
gosh.
beautiful, yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And I tell you, the release. And then I created my signature program, SOAR, which is Seeking Our Authentic Route to Your Highest Potential. And it's all about forgiving the past and building a rock solid foundation for your business so you can do what you're meant to do and not let these things hold us back. So I'm glad that you listened to your intuition and that you're on this healing journey. What was the main modality that you implemented that helped you? You said you talked a lot to your husband. What happened after that?
I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of like pausing and really just taking time for myself, like doing things by myself, like figuring out what do I enjoy. Like I would go to the gym by myself. I would, go shopping. I would watch certain TV shows and, just really figuring out like who I am and writing things down. And when I would have negative thoughts, write those negative thoughts down and ask myself, like, is that true? Am I really not good enough? Like, no, I am good enough. And just kind of working through those negative thoughts. So it was a lot of journaling, a lot of self care, a lot of reflection and visualization. So I'm a huge
Mhm.
visualizer. I absolutely love visualizing. I do it every single night before I go to bed. And just really thinking about like, what do I want my future to look like? And not just seeing it, but feeling it. Feeling like going into it and actually feeling myself there. Like, okay, I'm here. I'm speaking in front of thousands of people and I'm telling my story and I'm inspiring people and I'm actually feeling what that would feel like. I'm also seeing, my family growing and having a child with my husband and all these things. And then all of a sudden I started to notice that in doing that and taking that time to reflect on myself, I was able to manifest a lot of good things in my life, including the house that I'm in, which is super cool. So that
Well, that's
was what I
beautiful.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, manifesting your dreams and reverse engineering it.
Mhm.
One of the key strategies that we use in the SOAR program, and a lot of coaches, mentors, course creators, everyone. I mean, yeah, it's so important to know your why and to know where you want to be so you can get there and then reverse
Yes.
engineer it. What would be one piece of advice that you can give to our audience, someone experiencing something similar?
To pause. That would be my number one advice is to take a moment and just pause and listen to yourself and reflect on, whatever it is that you're going through, and decide, and all frazzled, I'm sorry. And to use affirmations and tell yourself, I am good enough. I can have the life I imagine. I do know how to make good choices for myself. I can trust myself. And just taking time for yourself, it's so important. And I know, especially as women, I can't speak so much for men, but we feel like we always have to be on, like we always have to be doing something to
Mm.
help somebody, but you really need to take time to literally do nothing. I remember the first time I heard that advice, I was like, what? You want me to do nothing? But seriously, do nothing. Listen to yourself and be in silence and close your eyes and reflect on what you want out of life and who you are deep down inside. That would be
Mhm.
my
That's beautiful and so true. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. One part of it, you're going to have to come on again in
yeah.
the future to share your other stories. We'll have to pick one,
Yes.
whatever you feel led to. So I really appreciate you and just being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So again, thank you, listeners, for being here. Share this episode. Whoever needs to hear this story, please be sure to share it. Check the description, connect with Amanda, follow her on social media, and really understand that you are not alone. And please share this with somebody that would benefit from hearing this episode. And thank you so much. And remember, your healing journey is a daily journey. It's all a matter of the heart.